Hey y'all, I'm Cheraw Tony. Today I come to you from a state forest here in South Carolina, and I have been told, in fact I have found it now, a witch's circle. I believe it's abandoned, but I will show you where it is. And my whole purpose of the video today is to share a story with you. Something that can happen to you if you dabble into the occult. This is a true story, I promise. And how do I know? Because it happened to me and my family, though many years ago. Nonetheless, it is just as terrifying now as it was then. And I'll share that story with you right after the station identification. A ranger several years ago told me about this place and just gave me a general idea where it was. And it is probably from a dwelling or a structure where people stayed maybe 50 to 100 yards into the forest here. You can't see anything, but we are in a sandy area. It's nothing but pines and pine straw, but this is not a rocky area, but this is what I was looking for. You can see here's a stone with some kind of marking on it. Is that witchery? I don't know. And these stones may have been strewn about, but they seem to be logically placed. Here's one here. And another. And some more scattered about. And they have different types of marking on them. There's another. Here's one with a marking on it. I'm not sure what it is, what it means, but they're not natural. My story starts back in 1969 and the early 70s. There's a house back through there. My father passed away when I was 12, and the house that we lived in at the time, we haven't lived there but maybe 5 years before he passed away. Was built on a vacant lot. But about a year after he died in 1969, my grandmother from Iowa came to stay with us. I believe at the time I was off at Boy Scout camp, but my father used to collect miniature ceramic dogs, little dogs about that high. He had all the breeds, Dalmatians, German Shepherds, Poodles, all that stuff. He had them, and we kept them on a 3-tiered shelf in the, we called them a living room back then. Well, no one was home except for my grandmother, and she heard a loud crash, and she was in the kitchen at the time washing dishes, I believe. But she went running into the living room, and not all of them, but most of those dogs had been wiped off the shelf and lay on the living room floor broken. No reason whatsoever for those dogs to be on the floor. As I said, no one was at home. No windows were open. No doors were open. We didn't have any animals at home. They were just on the floor. And we just kind of let it go at that. Over the next several weeks, other things would happen. And most of the time there would be just only one or two people at home, but we would hear doors opening and closing when they were clearly locked. You know, the old aluminum storm doors had a gas-powered shock that would allow the door to close gently. Well, ours would close gently, and then the last 2 inches they would slam. And it was a noise. If you've ever heard it, then you can't mistake it for anything else. That would go on. Well, things kind of died down. We didn't hear anything for months later. My grandmother left and went back to Iowa. On occasion, my sister, she was 3 years younger than me, she would come to my room before night and say, "Can I sleep on the floor in your room?" And you know, me being a young teenager at the time, I think I was probably about 14, with my little kid sister hanging around, but she said, "Hey, if you let me sleep on the floor in your room, I'll make your bed for you." And at that time, that was something I absolutely despised doing, is making my bed. So, not all the time, but occasionally, she would stay in my room and sleep on the floor. We really never asked why. Why all of a sudden are you afraid to sleep in your own room? Well, later we would find out. Things would die down a little bit over the next year or two, but probably this started with myself, probably when I was about 14, maybe 15. Strange things. But yet I really never could understand exactly what was happening. I'll set the stage for you. I'm in my bed, asleep. Or at least I think I'm asleep. But yet I'm awake. I couldn't move. I was freezing to death. It was cold in there. And our house was always hot. It was never cold. But yet I was freezing. But I couldn't move. I heard noises. I take that back. It wasn't just noises. I heard voices. It sounded like murmurings, laughing, crying, whispering. And, of course, I was terrified. And I wanted to call out to my mother, who was sleeping in a room right on the other side of the wall from mine. But I couldn't call her. Apparently, I could moan. And when she heard my moans, the time her foot hit the floor to come to my room, it was all gone. By the time she opened my door and said, "What's the matter?" it all stopped. It was gone. And we just chalked it up to having night terrors or bad dreams. Now, mind you, this never took place anywhere else I slept. Over at friends' houses, on vacations, wherever we went, I never had this experience. It was always in that room. In fact, one night, something happened, and the next day my mother said, "What in the world were you doing in the hall? It sounded like you were wrestling with somebody." Well, kind of find out, in a dream I thought I was. I thought I was wrestling with the devil. Was I sleepwalking? I don't know. When I was 15, my mother remarried, and when I was 17, I believe, she had 2 little baby boys, my brothers. They were twins, though not identical, and that has nothing whatsoever to do with this story. But me being a little older, being a little more able to stay away from home, spending the night with friends, going on little trips off on my motorcycle when I was 17 and 18. As long as I was away, I didn't have that problems. I did not have any of those dreams, so to say. When I was 19 years old, almost 20, Debbie and I got married, And around 1978, we moved away to where the town that we live in now. And those things were long behind us. Until one morning, in fact, about 2:30 in the morning, there was a knock on our front door. And I got up to see who it was. And it was my mother, my sister, and 2 brothers. And they told us a story that would curl your hair. Apparently, this didn't end when I left home. These random acts of weirdness, random acts of terror, they didn't end when I left home. They involved other members of our family, and a lot of folks just didn't talk about them. They told us that night something had pinned my mother down to the bed in her room. Something had pinned my sister down to her bed. She couldn't move, but something was holding her down and pulling her hair. My mother told us that when she was pregnant with my 2 brothers, that someone whispered to her, said, "Why didn't you tell me?" Who were they talking about? We don't know. My father passed away years before she remarried. I was 11 or 12 when he passed away. She didn't remarry until I was 15. Couldn't have been him. Now, my mother's husband, my brother's father, he worked away from home, so then sometimes he would be gone weeks at the time. She wound up later divorcing him, and he passed away in a car wreck, but this was years after all these occurrences happened. Well, they wanted to get to the bottom of things, and there were some things that, talking to preachers and other people about what had happened, you know, we didn't want to seem crazy, but these things were real. At least they were real to us. Someone asked, "Do y'all dabble in the occult, in witchcraft, things like that?" Well, of course, no. We're good, God-fearing people. We go to church every Sunday. What's going on? Well, something occurred to us. That not long after my father had passed away, my aunt in Charleston, was actually my mother's aunt, asked my sister and I if there was something that we would like, you know, for a birthday or Christmas or whatever, just a gift. We said, "Yeah, we see this on TV. We want a Ouija board." Well, we would play with that thing and put our fingers on it and ask the dead questions and ask whatever. And we thought it was moving. We don't know. But we found out from experts, the authority on things, that when you dabble with the occult, when you dabble with those things, that you are inviting trouble into your home. You are inviting demons into your home, not dead people. This is what we believe in my home, that when you die, you go to heaven or you go to the other place, and there's no in between. However, we know that there are things called familiar spirits, but we don't know 100%. But because these familiar spirits, could they be at the root of everything? When someone told my mother, said, "What you need to do, you need to get rid of that Ouija board." Well, later I found out that my brothers had taken that Ouija board in the backyard and they burned it to a crisp. And guess what? Never any more strange occurrences. They lived in that house until the house was sold and it was torn down in order for them to build a state prison on it. Or a federal prison was built on that land. But after the Ouija board was destroyed, they had no more problems. I had no more problems. So, did it really happen? Yeah, daggone straight, it really happened. And for that sole reason, I don't dabble in the occult. Am I interested in the things that happen? Yeah, sure. I have some friends that are paranormal investigators that go out to places and all. And you know, hey, my thing is, knock yourself out, Bubba. I'm not going with you, because those things are real. It is for all these reasons that I am careful not to mock, make fun of, or call anyone out that does these things, because I do believe they are real. And of course, I don't want anyone getting mad at me or putting a hex on me, because again, that stuff is for real. This was a true story. This actually happened to me and my family. We actually experienced it. Is it real? Well, you decide for yourself. The folks that dabble in witchcraft, whether it be good or bad, that's fine. That's you, not me. For now, I will stay clear of it, because I've experienced things that I don't want to experience again, and I do not wish them on no one. But I will leave you with this bit of advice. Be careful what you do. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give me a big old thumbs up. Be sure to share this video with your family and friends. But until next time, y'all have a good day.